I live in South Bend, Indiana, and I've been here for about 12 years. I came back to help my dad out. So I moved back here about 12 years ago from Seattle, where I raised my wonderful sons, Andrew and Danny. The idea, this crazy idea for us to take this 180-mile trip from Cumberland to DC actually started when I took a trip down to DC to visit Andrew. Happened to be cherry blossom season. It was just gorgeous out there. And Andrew needed some help with me dropping him off at a Toyota dealer. And so we dropped his car off and walked 10 miles back to Georgetown and had a soft serve. He started talking about the C&O Canal, which we had just actually passed over. And I thought he was out of his mind. He said, yeah, you got a bike with me on this one. And we had our soft serve and hopped on e-bikes. They rent them there in DC. When I got home back to South Bend, he said, no, really, I would like to take this biking trip with you. It's just like 60 miles a day. We could do it in three days. I know how to ride a bike. I biked, as a kid and in high school and later in college, but never for really long hauls, like 60 miles a day, really never more than 10 miles a day. So I thought, how can I make this work? So I started researching like e-bikes, and I found a cool company in California, in San Pedro, California. And I purchased a bike online, an e-bike, and they mailed it to me. So it arrived here in my apartment in pieces, and I assembled the e-bike. Our first leg of the journey was Cumberland, Maryland to Hancock. And as I said, in the very beginning of this first leg of the trip, I started wiping out. It's just like I'd go through a puddle and didn't realize how fast I was going for one. And then I'd just fall over, kind of like a Monty Python thing. And then I just start laughing. I don't know why, but it just seemed really funny to me. And then I'd get up, I was totally covered in mud. And I thought, there you go. You can't get muddier, and now you know how to fall down. There was one thing that I really hesitated about. Andrew kept talking about going through a tunnel on the first day, which shoots through a mountain range. And this would be in the dark on your bike on a towpath. And the night before we went through that tunnel, I actually said a prayer that the tunnel would be shut down. And I didn't even tell Andrew about it. So that first day, it was so hot out and so challenging. And we came to this tunnel, and there were all these signs that said, the tunnel is shut down because the rocks are falling off of the mountain. And so I thought, oh, thank you, God. But ironically, I actually could see the light at the end of the tunnel. It was like a 2-minute walk through the tunnel. But instead, we had to climb the entire mountain, which wasn't even a trail. At this point, I knew we were totally out of cell service. So it did make me a little bit nervous. Anyway, so we finally made it to our destination. I was utterly exhausted. The next day, we were going from Hancock to Shepherdstown, and this was going to be another really long day, I think 70 miles or so. And we stopped in Williamsport on the way, a sweet little colonial village. And also we stopped at a lot of the Canal houses, which are the lock houses where they open up the locks for the barges to go through. It was a lovely, beautiful, dreamlike day. It really was fantastic. And it became kind of a meditation for both of us. Most of the time we were, pedaling in silence, and It was spectacular. It was really beautiful going along the canal. So we packed up and went along this really cool part of the canal where there are cliffs and there's graffiti all over the cliffs down there on your way to Shepherdstown. Beautiful part of, I think it's the Potomac there, but one of the drawings or graffiti signs said jump. And I thought that was so cool because this whole trip with Andrew was like jumping off a cliff, free falling, not knowing how you're gonna land, but enjoying the flight. You know, it was really, really cool. So then we went on, and I was getting so tired and weak, I think because it was also the second day. But when we got to Shepherdstown, we stayed at this crazy fun Bavarian Village Inn. And we were right above the Potomac and had beautiful views of the mountains there. This was our short journey, was the next day. We were riding to Harper's Ferry, which is a fantastically historic spot. We parked our bikes at the base of this big footbridge, locked up the bikes and went over into Harper's Ferry, had a great day, and then went on to Brunswick, where we were staying at a travel lodge. So then our next day was Brunswick into Georgetown, where we actually had started this entire discussion about whether to do the C&O or not. So the next day was pretty grueling, but so exciting to finish up in Georgetown. And then we were in the final stretch into Georgetown, into DC, where the first thing we looked for was a soft serve ice cream truck. And that was our trip.